Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wild Boys Console League. Yes, I'm standing. I can do whatever I want. I could even box up, but we are standing here today for this cast. We have a doubleheader back-to-back, which means plenty of siege to go around. As always, I'll be doing everything behind the desk. My name is SiNO, and today for the first game, we have The Order versus Wild Boys. It's been a while since I've seen some of these guys, even dating back all the way to when I first started casting in June of last year, or the year before that. I actually just can't remember, but it's a pleasure to be here. We have the first map, which will be a BO1, and we have the next matchup, which will be another BO1. So speaking of, we will be going to Nighthaven Labs, and if you know Nighthaven, you know it only plays out one way, and that is the most balanced map in the attacking pool. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and hopefully both of these teams do show up, as this is the game of the week. And without further ado, let's take a look at the map on the board today. The social predictions come in 100% on The Order. While we get these players situated, we'll take a second and we'll be back after we get into the game. We're back. We're into the game, and these guys took a little bit longer than we anticipated to get the job done, but here we are. For those of you who missed the pre-show, my name is SiNO. If we are cool like that, you can call me Yassine. And we bring to you guys Night Haven Labs, which will be a best of one, but luckily for the viewers at home, we have 2 maps, which means plenty of siege to go around. It'll be 2 different matchups and 2 different teams competing. This will be the header of the night, being the game of the week, and regardless of what game it is, I'm feeling steady. I haven't really stood up while casting in a while, so I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling excited, and so should you guys. Night Haven Labs is arguably the best map to see in a best of one, just because of the amount of different things that you can see within the server, and that means it's balanced. So yeah, the attackers might struggle a little bit more because it's a now 20-second meta with all of the different things that we saw at the midseason patch, but it's a lot more viable than, let's say, Consulate or Border, where it's a lot more gunfight oriented, or it requires a lot of pre-work before you get into the building as the attacker. Because let's be honest, there's only a handful of maps within the 9 competitive pool that favor the attackers, if any, at this point in time. And with the return of the 20-second meta, it makes it a little bit harder to get the job done. So we head on over to the upstairs site, which is probably the favorite site here. I want to see some tertiary gameplay, so hopefully that Wild Boys can take 2 rounds in a row and they can show us what their storage defense looks like, but one can only hope, am I right? As always, there's a good time when there's esports on tonight, and there's an even better time when it's a double header. For those of you who didn't just see that, we released some shirts. They'll have a Jaeger ADS. I think there's Smoke, Twitch, and Mute as well. Exclamation mark merch or caster 10. Take a look at those. You get 10% off if you order while we are on broadcast. It's a good day. Now, what Mr. Aiden is doing is, by prepping that barbed wire, there'll be an indicator while he tries to hold rafters, so if an attacker kind of adds pressure into an area he doesn't want, you can swing off of that or the breach at the same time. All has to be done with perfect coordination by having this mirror as well. I love breaking it down on console because I'm solo. I get to be able to speak and say whatever the hell I want without somebody talking to me at the top of their lungs. Now, this mirror can work for one of 2 reasons. You can pop the mirror and decide to spray exactly like that. That gets rid of the exothermic and look to get more. But you also have to make sure you gauge yourself so you don't get a little overzealous and get carried away. You see the hard breacher, but Boris is putting in pressure. They're struggling, but finally the can opener comes into effect with the C4, gets rid of Squirtle. Can opener gets the breach opened, but at what cost? You're not LeBron. You can't just jump through that whenever you feel like it. But Kex is finally able to break the silence by opening up rafters, but sacrifices all of his health in the meantime. Popify goes down on the stairs. Bars is on that triple, and the entire round is opened up, leaving just Jeff Sticko. If you'd want somebody to clutch it out, it would be him, but Banshee and Vulcan doesn't mean anything. He'll get rid of Wulati. Wulati. I don't really know how to say his name. We're just going to call him Godsend from now on. As Kex finishes off his teammate, but instantly gets taken care of by Bars on a heater, waiting for that ace. Getting closer and closer. Trying to find it. Sees Jeff Sicko when the wallbang connects. A good opener by the Order to try to get the walls open, but Wild Boys, they say no. They'll open it up. A triple kill and a valiant effort from one of the better-known players within the console scene. It's an easier round, and they'll head right down to the basement for their next attempt. Kaid and Bandit bans do indicate that it'll be a little bit harder to get the breaches opened or keep it closed, in my opinion. But what I was going to get to, kind of jump the gun on that one, is when you try to open up the breaches, some defenders, when they realize they have nothing to hold the walls, they can just either put a mirror and break it, as we saw in the previous round, or some players, if it's this site specifically, put a rotate, and when they hear attackers drop off the ladder, they'll try to time it perfectly and toss a C4 out and see if they can do some damage. So, different things can happen at any time. But this is one of those sites where extensions are needed, no matter what you think of the site. verticality is usually heavily preferred because 1, you don't want to lose control of your mirrors on site due to verticality, and 2, if there's a rush plant that you can't really mitigate or deal with one mirror, you'll have a player sitting upstairs with the vertical holes. Even better for Solus because you can pinpoint it without having any prior intel. The fact that Ram was able to survive the ban phase is somewhat short of a miracle, but he'll be able to use her for a good majority of the round. What in the world is he throwing? It's the second TK of the day. Shoots your verticality operator straight in the teeth. Now the players know exactly where you are. Tries to get rid of the Legion, no bueno, as his health is just getting shaved off, and into Dexy to finish the job. A 2-man lead, somewhat manufactured by the Order themselves. Now it looks like they have places to be and they're trying to get this done. 2 bodies down this early is not something you want to see, especially on this site. Now Kex almost has a kill for himself on the board, but no bueno as the player ease off as they know there's going to be a player as the Angel with the halo above waiting for somebody to swing in that window. Jeff SiNO finally opens the silence and gets one for his team. The player to do that in both rounds now, taking care of the Legion, but Barsh doubles down and gets rid of Kex. Such a large divide between these attackers, like they're seas apart, and these defenders continue to close down, waiting to get their chunk of the pie. Can Jeff and Squirtle, the F2s, get the job done here? Because it is about isolating gunfights. Jeff has problems of his own, and Squirtle's going to have to deal with so many different areas of pressure. But you see, circling pressure comes in from Warehouse, and Jeff SiNO will prevail. They'll go back to the drawing board, hit the reset button, and try to recoup. But Solus doesn't look like they're going to buy that for 1 second, rotating to deal with Charlie directly. Still nothing. Reposition yourself to get back into the gunfight, but that only leads to their deaths. A 2v4 completely tossed out the window. Now with Dexy, needs to be able to clutch out the 1vx here, and it's not impossible, but with this utility, it is a little bit lesser preferred. With the TCSG, you can really pack a punch here. And these goo mines doing God's work to continue to force out each and every single point of damage. Now Jeff, planting on Pillar. You have this one player that holds the cross, so you're in a pseudo 1v1 that you need to isolate right here and now. Next, he knows exactly where one player is, and it seems like he knows where the other is. But it's all about gauging the pressure in your time. Can you rid of Jeff? Yes, you can. Now just leaving one who will take his place, and you'll clutch it out. Oh, Dexy, you can't just do that. A triple kill. He rids of everybody in the site, massacres them with a triple kill, and Wild Boys grab their second round like it's nothing. You can't just do that. Decides to completely tear apart the opposing team, and it'll pay off dividends. What a round that is as Wild Boys get 1 round closer to a perfect defensive cycle and their final bans, and they're doing it with a big old smile on their faces. Looks like Caster's Curse kind of struck, but in the opposite direction. It was Caster's good luck. I said I wanted 2 rounds in the favor of Wild Boys so we could see the tertiary site and how they hold down the storage site. And my wish was their command. They brought it in, and now we can see how they'll decide to get the job done. I'm excited to see how they'll kind of go about making this look the best, optimize vertical gunfights, and see how it'll kind of break down. Squirtle now going for a untraditional. What is going on between these two? It looks like they just want to kill each other. But see how it'll play out here. First blood is broken by Popify, but it's a flurry of kills in the warehouse, and Popify goes big to give his team the advantage, but not for long. 2v3, and Squirtle now looking to break the silence and retrieve the case. Not really much you can do in this type of situation. 40 seconds burned off the clock, and it's just these two players that are getting closer and closer to the site. The direct comms are given, but you do not want to be on the receiving end of this shotgun. Kex uses that utility to his advantage, but right now, you'll be the one that takes more damage than dealing, and the players will rotate off completely, so a little bit lost with the Soliton radar. Needs to prioritize at that long range to be able to even out the playing grounds while Charlie tries to work the site from below, but it doesn't work out. Now Kex in a 1v3, and it doesn't work as Wild Boys are massacring the order. It all falls apart under this team, and they have to mitigate these circumstances in the middle of their defensive or attacking campaign onto the defensive of Wild Boys. Final bans come in. Mira for Snake. No more global intel for the remaining campaign for the Order. And it's not like they've been using it, to be honest. They've kind of been finding themselves in a trance of the same repetitive gun style. Kill your teammate, walk into the building, get your head chopped off. It looks like they're just going to get this over with, which with console, it's not really a bigger surprise. I mean, some players have bigger and badder things to do, whether you're a streamer, content creator, or getting the job done. It's interesting how they get this, but let's see how it'll play out for them. They'll head back upstairs as they complete a full cycle of success. But the first time that they will bring Denari. Now, Roam Clear puts it close to the window, but did you know you could extend it all the way into the couches area, which will be a breakdown video. Now, Charlie looks to break electrical, but right now we'll just have the pleasure of burning those Denaris nice and early into the round, so his team won't have to deal with it later on. No hard breacher for the Order. An interesting pick of Iana as they'll look to use it to be the entry, and it'll work as Kex actually breaks open Waterfall. Double down, and if he can find the Fenrir, he'll make his utility obsolete, which will rid of 2 F-Naughts. So a little bit interesting in the terms of what the idea here is, bringing an F-Naught and just double stacking them on Aqua. Charlie opens up electrical. His team takes full advantage as now 2 players go down for Wild Boys, and it's a good amount of pacing built up now for the Order. They've now established order within all of electrical and connector and all adjacent rooms. One player decides to walk into the site but gets melted in the process. Charlie gets one but instantly refragged out. 2 DB knows, one in the middle of the site, but Popify says no. Gives that lead right back to his team, leaving a 1v3 at the distance. You're rid of that waterfall pressure, so now you can take some time to reset. But in the meantime, they've rezzed their downed player, giving them a chance to go back up to full strength. They know what the idea here is. Cover and cover only. Adexi looking to isolate but cannot find it. Jeff Sicko hits the mark. What else will he do except for tear your head off? And finally, they'll find a round of their own. 1-3 is the score. We'll head back upstairs as they'll reattempt their choice at how to play this out. Interested to see how they'll be able to execute, especially with the amount of pressure that continues to amount. Two spawn peeks, or no, they're spawn peeking each other, guys. I'm sorry, he'll whip out the shield. Did I miss something? Sorry, Jeff, I have bigger and badder things to focus on. Oh, and they just pretend like nothing happened? Huh. I'm sorry, did I miss something? Are we flirting? What's going on here, guys? Because Jeff's in the middle of the building here. Yeah. In the sea of defenders circling and hungry with shotguns to take his face off. And we're tickling each other with LMGs. Interesting. First flash thrown in to deter anybody from swinging off of that. Kex has already landed. Burns the C4. Would have had a lot more health if he didn't eat an LMG. Crazy thought here, but Bars and Roam Clear finish off the two players in Electrical. Kex goes down to the shotgun at the range, leaving one player in IT to walk in. Almost the whip, but will get the job done. Will make use of 100 of those bullets, but will fall in the end. The order fall. They'll take that 4-1 deficit. One more on their attacking campaign before they try to flip things around. Charlie, what is going on with your team, man? I thought this would be interesting. We'll go downstairs. I'm sorry, I'm really just trying to gauge what's really going on in this game, because the game of the week really seems to be the game of the hour, as there's really nothing else going on here. I'm happy this is a doubleheader, because I'm very intrigued as to what these two teams are thinking. Wild Boys, on one hand, are looking like they're playing, and the Order, I mean, or ordering each other to shoot each other. A little curious, but it is what it is. Deep breaths, guys. Deep breaths. You'll also have to bear with me. Really trying to understand what's going on here. No ram brought. Not banned. They just decided that Sledge and Buck were a better idea. And then they'll also bring on the ramp to just top up as much pressure as they want. Another soft breacher being on the Ash. Popify taking a couple of hits off of damage. No C4s, except for the one in the sentry's pocket. Yella takes care of Kex, establishing that lead. Now all they have to do is maintain it to take a 5-1 lead, which is one to dream about against this team, but right now it doesn't really look like they're taking things seriously. Popify opens up Animus with Jeff. They've taken a good amount of real estate, but these shotguns will pack a punch. Warden needs to maintain his pillar pressure, but no longer there. It won't matter. Bars gets the first. Popify takes care of Roam Clear to get one back in blood and goes on a triple kill. It's a heater. Looking to continue to force pressure. C4 goes wild. It'll connect onto the front doorstep of Popify. Wiped off the face of the earth. 2-all. Perfectly healthy both ways and plenty of time to go about this round. Kex isolates the gunfight, but pushes the player back up the stairs with that frag grenade. Now Squirtle looks to walk down Exo, and Adexi forgot his headset at home as he allows it to be a little too easy, leaving just Ella, the one to find the first frag. Could you find the other two and get those 2 kills in succession? Keep yourselves around. They do not have the case. They need to retrieve it and put it down. The sledge runs in from Animus, gets his head chopped off, leaving Squirtle in a 1v2 with no case. It seems like the Ella knows where the player is operating and where the case is down, so there's enough time to be able to rotate, and the team comms are going to come up. That there is somebody waiting for you on the hatch. Now it's going to be an interesting gunfight, considering Charlie needs to... Never mind. I was going to say he's going to need to be careful when he walks in, but it looks like he just doesn't care. 5-1 lead as Wild Boys are destroying the opposition, but maybe, just maybe, the Order was waiting to turn the Jets on in their second defensive, or they just don't care and they want this game to be over with. It's a very realistic double standard. First bans, rain on it, seems like. Both trends are very common. One will be playing out for the Thermite and one onto the Wall Denial. Open the wall, keep it closed, and it'll be a continuous back and forth with that trend. For those of you just joining us, this is the Wild Boys Console League. We have a doubleheader on the board today. The game of the week is the Order versus Wild Boys. And I'm now being told that this is the Order regular season game. Well, I'm not on console, and I feel like sometimes it's for a reason. I see this as it probably will be. We spent more time getting the lobby set up than we did in match, which would be a hilarious stat line to have. And it will be a stat line that I will display if I decide to cast these guys in the future in their playoff run. But luckily for us, we have another game, which will be Yardigans versus Neptune. Yardigans impressed me with their game style last week, so I wanted to watch them again. So we saw they were playing on a Monday, so we got a doubleheader going. Sometimes it's really interesting to just have one game for the night because you're just looking at a 1-hour cast, maybe even less if you're looking at delays and a quick blowout. So it's not really fun, but this is one of those things where you're kind of able to do what you want and when. We'll head on upstairs with arguably the most interesting lineup I've seen. The only normal pick here is Tabaro. You could argue Legion, but 0-5 on Vigil. Great of ideas, but we can't judge now, can we? Charlie really loves this Legion shotgun and will most likely run out when he sees a player get closer and closer to this window. Bars will be the one to break ground. Does he know the impending doom that gets closer and closer? No Claymore has been placed, and he might take full advantage of that. One punch of the barricade. No one's paid attention to it just yet. It's such an easy kill. Everyone's on a drone. No one is paying attention to poor Adexi right here. And the breach finally getting opened up. Popify looking to go prone and force a kill, but no bueno. Oh, Charlie, you had such a good opportunity to exploit these players, but they've already broken ground into IT. Just run out, but no. You're telling me you don't take it seriously here and now? They've now broken ground. Is he on mouse? The Ash takes care of Jeff Sicko. It's a two-man advantage, and the time continues to run down. Charlie strikes back, but Aiden gets one back in blood, and a Dexy doubles down. It's a flurry of kills and a sea of orange in the kill feed. Kexby is lonesome, coming up from Waterfall. Needing to bring down these operators one by one, but Rome clears that Rome beautifully. The Caviera is obsolete in this round, and the match point is granted to Wild Boys. What in the hell is going on? Deep breaths, guys. I'm also very curious as to what the idea here is. But again, we have a game after this, so why is there a need to be mad? We finished 20 minutes before, which means that's an extra 20 minutes we have to put in the watch time. So, I don't know. Maybe in the next broadcast, I'll throw together a little bit of clips that we can show in the waiting screen, so not everyone has to look at those beautiful graphics and bump to that house music. It's not everyone's genre. I know it's some, but I know some of you don't, so it's okay. We will try to accommodate for everybody. But for this game, we head on over to an even more outlandish setup. We're not going to deny the wall at all. No, no, no. We're going to sacrifice that for a clash, which, don't get me wrong, probably one of the most broken operators on defense right now. But we're going to keep the Cav and the alibi, because that's important. You know, sometimes I just like to have good fun. This is hilarious to me. I like how some teams just don't care, and they, when they need to, will turn up the heat to the max. It's just kind of funny how they can get the job done when needed, and when they don't want to, they'll just toss everything they care about out the window. Because if I'm not mistaken, these guys qualify for playoffs almost every single damn time. Feel free to correct me in the chat. I am sometimes happy to be wrong, because it allows me to gain perspective and insights into things I don't really know much about. But, there's no being incorrect with these guys. Charlie. Oh, Charlie. Charlie, my Charlie. Lots left to do, bud. You gonna run up this time? Bars takes care of absolutely nothing, as the SMG-12 actually works out for Kex and he'll break ground and get his first kill. Kex and Quex. Kex and Quex. Wow. It's a tongue twister. But Aiden and Godsend clean house and rid of everybody that sits in IT and their grandmas. Gonna burned off the clock in a pre-fire of doom. Hey buddy, he's not Yao Ming. There we go, the second chance will work. As sometimes you need a second chance at life to get those kills on the board, but Squirtle goes down as Charlie falls to the overwhelming attacker presence in electrical. As the attackers switch gears and start applying pressure from everywhere else but the focal point of IT. Same player to be left last alive. The lifeline that you need to win this round, but they'll team up on you, and this game is over before it even started. Thank God there's another game we get to watch, because oh my God, what the hell did I just watch? What in the world? We've gotten close to swearing on broadcast, but I've never gotten that close. But 7-1 is the score line. They take it by storm, meaning we'll have to wait for the next game, which it is a doubleheader, so thank God for that. We will get the players situated into the newer lobby. Make sure to follow and subscribe if you have been enjoying. I've been SiNO doing everything behind the desk. We'll get the job done. We'll be here as fast as we can. Grab a refresher and don't go anywhere. Most important. We're back. The players aren't ready, but I am. Again, we're standing for this cast, so I really just feel like I could run through a wall. I can go over here. I can go over here. And, you know, I feel like the allegations are true of me sometimes being a little coked out, but it's fine, 'cause that just means I have good energy. My name is SiNO. For those of you who missed the pre-show, today we have Neptune versus Yardigans. The map, we're going to save that for later. Some pre-game set tone by Clicks. I appreciate the little bit of a pre-game warm-up. I've been told that Yardigans have been on a heater beating some of the top D1 teams in the console scene. So they'll have one map to show us that they're ready, and that one map will be the one and only Consulate. I feel like I've seen so much of Consulate lately, but it's a map that never disappoints. The socials splitting it right down the middle. Both of these teams should show us what they have in store, but while we have these guys getting into the lobby, you put 1 for Neptune, 2 or Yardigans. If you don't want to do all of that, just put their name, either Neptune or Yardigans, to get the job done, and you will have a chance to show your vote on stream, and we'll be back when these players are ready. finally, we load into game. It's Consulate on the board, ladies and gentlemen, and it's quite intriguing to see how this will play out. I'm excited to see what these players have in store for us today. Consulate likes to usually play out in a couple of ways, and I'm not going to spoil the fun just yet. I want to see how the games work out before I say anything, because it could look quite funky when we get in through a couple of rounds or deciding on how the defensive team decides to start this game out. For those of you who missed the pre-show, my name is SiNO. I will be everything behind the scenes for you today. Hope you guys like some Siege, because this will be our second game of the night before we have to shut the curtains and wish goodnight to this lovely, lovely day of competition. Both of these teams have a point to prove. Now Yardigans, some prehistoric ideologies on how they were playing. Thanks to Clicks, he just told us that they have been on a heater against some top D1 teams, and they've even been cooking up. Right before this game, they won their BO1 7-1, so their hands are warm, their players are ready, so there shouldn't be a lot of room for mistakes. They will also have the privilege of being able to start out on Consulate on the defensive side, or on the attacking side. My apologies, which seems to, oh no, I was right, it was the defensive side, which does play out in their favor, because if they can optimize the outcome and get as many rounds as they can when they switch over, it should be an absolute banger for them to get the job done. So, nice and exciting. Let's see how this will play out. Lots of things left to do for the teams that we see play, because the later into the night you get the cold or some hand decide to get, so kind of important to the overall game that you maintain that and you continue to force the mistakes out the other team without kind of burning yourself out. Looks like a little bit of a faster take will be the main idea here, as look at all of their players situated on yellow. They'll have a gang just waiting to toss in all of these Candelas. Unfortunately, your direct counter is waiting for you to make the mistake of walking in. They also have Vert and a Vulcan canister in case those first two barriers do go down, so it's not really looking too hot for the players that want to rush in. The players will also come in from Yellow Skylight as well. Warden, he can just see through all of it. Slam goes down, so does Glad, so it's not really looking too good. Runs, opens it up by just flying in through window. That was the wild card that they weren't kind of thinking about. Warden can't evade line scans, but he can use the SMG-12 and hone it to the best of his abilities. He's forcing mistakes. Vector will go down to reestablish the lead for Neptune, but the thing about fast brazen plays is after you lose the element of surprise, you also use the utility that you use to try to establish this. The C4 that lands on Jack Yardigan's first front doorstep will get him 1 and 2, leaving KJ to retrieve the case and isolate and win 2 gunfights with 90 seconds on the board. Main idea should be to make this 2 separate 1v1s, and then, and only then, you have a chance at being able to win this. These players aren't going to swing. It's something I saw in their last week when they played and we casted, that matches that are very coordinated. They know what they want to do and when, and they will continue to push full until this time expires. Did a great job at being able to deal with the pressure, and now they're versatile by being able to completely back off and allow this man to take as much real estate and shave off that health. Force the mistakes, force the pressure. He feels it. The question is, can he respond to the call to action? But Jack says yes and no. He'll just go on a triple kill, will massacre the entire team, and a rush completely botched as Neptune needs to kind of reevaluate their thinking strategy when it comes to trying to rush into the building at Mach 10. We'll head downstairs to see how these teams will combat that pressure. Hopefully a rush isn't the main idea. I mean, I honestly haven't been on console long enough, or back to console long enough to be able to kind of judge and dictate what I think is a good idea. But knowing this Yardigans team, it's very evident that a team knows what they're doing and how they want to portray their executes. And this is a team that's coordinated. They know what to do. They don't get overheated. They don't kind of lose coordination throughout the round. They always have an idea and a plan, and if it doesn't kind of work for them one round, they'll just kind of pivot and look to continue to adjust on the fly. So take that with a pinch of salt, and you watch them continue to do so, and I'm excited to see them continuously change their performance, because it's an exciting team to watch. And for Neptune, it's always a first for me to see a new team, and it was a good idea, but that rush was so well managed that it was a little bit of a problem. But I like that aura pick out of them, as it shows they're hungry to force the mistakes by cutting off angles. And with Aurora's most recent buff, she can block off angles from a greater distance, and she spawns in with more of her barricades in the pocket. First Jago payload. It's going to take some time to get used to. Instead of calling it a logic bomb, you got to call it Jago payload now, because it delivers fire. It's a clever name, but takes some time to get used to. Vector on the lurk, and one player will be very committed to making sure this thermite doesn't touch the breach. Melees it once to try to bait it out. You see what KJ is trying to do. Really trying to make sure the player doesn't get the easiest C4, but AA will put in more of a shift as Biella now goes down for the second time in a row as the first pick now, not the operator, but the same player. Vector had the player in the element of surprise, but didn't expect three players to be beelining it at him full speed, and they'll take full control of Visa and get two bodies in doing so. Side benefit is they'll also take the cameras. With the newest change to Dokkaebi, it's not permanent, but it is a good amount of time to be able to scroll the default cameras, any bulletproof that may be lurking in the site, and use that intel to your advantage. Now, 90 seconds left on the clock, and these players look to continue to apply pressure still. Nothing that'll put them at risk as of now, but still so much left to do. There's the amount of surprise, and again, and the hipfire bullet will do the job, and not a lot of health loss, so walking out of that engagement as a victorious defender. If you can get one more kill, you'll even out and tip the scales into your favor, as now all you'll have to do is fall back into sight and run down that clock, force the mistakes out of these players, but sometimes it's just not so easy. 50 seconds left on the clock. Runs gets one to reestablish that lead, but it's short-lived as Yardigans swing back. But remember, they're still at that one-man deficit, so it's the same deficit, but just one player shorter. Tied at a very great angle. Only needs to deliver one bullet on this pixel to even up the scales here. This Vigil roaming, lurking, forcing the problem, and distracting two attackers to get the job done. Do you know where this gridlock is? It looks like the answer is no, but you're given a second chance at life because of how zoomed in that scope is. You'll isolate for the second time around. What is Thermite doing? KJ? Hello? Where did we go? Was doing so well up into that last moment, seemingly forgetting what the main idea was, falling apart when it was needed the most to establish a lead, and that is not what you want to see. We head on to the tertiary site, the mid-floor, with Mira. No Wamai or Jaeger, which is a little intriguing. I haven't seen it banned out in console yet. I've seen it a couple times on PC and in Pro League, so a little concerning how consoles kind of yet to adapt that into the setup, just because of how important these players really are. Now, Jaeger being a 3-speed is a lot more speedy, and with Wamai genuinely turning into a superpower that can hold bunker by himself, can hold places like yellow, long haul all by himself. It really differs from map to map, but when you have an operator that can deny grenades, bring a shield and a shotgun with a fully automatic primary all in one, you tend to ban him or bring him, which I've yet to see both, really. It is really not concerning, but just a little bit interesting in the terms of the sense. I don't doubt that we'll do a grand final interview or a playoff interview where we can actually pick at the brain of some of the players, whether it be an IGL or just a support player. We can understand what the insight really is on console and why the idea of not banning out Wamai is. But I feel like I have the answer. Like they want to take real estate in Visa yet again, and we'll find it in succession as not a single player is over there except for the Legion, who's close enough to hear that door getting shot down, and the drone that follows behind it needs to be careful with that laser because it may give away his position if he swings a little too earlier, if he decides to actually just shoot for fun. As now they have a general idea where the Legion is. They need to be careful. They need to tread on careful soil, knowing that this is a tertiary site. There's a lot more different angles that present themselves. They could have decided to play on the site that has one in the basement and one on the first floor, as it'll be a little bit easier to dissect, but this site specifically can be played out vertically and horizontally in terms of soft extension and lurking as well, so they need to be careful of a player that's just sitting in an area that they don't really expect. Jack opening it up in a very unfortunate manner for Neptune to have to deal with by ridding of that striker. You get rid of critical general utility. It's not like he has a special ability, but just being able to bring two pairs of passive and lethals is just very, very important. Now, not too much being done here. One player that's lurking out in the long haul. This is usually the death trap that the attackers don't account for if you don't bring enough utility. Now, finally, the kills were a sea of orange in the kill feed, but it'll finally strike back in the favor of Neptune. They'll get one for their troubles, but it won't last long, and the joy quickly subsides. A slam gets rid of one player and is hungry to find out this Dokkaebi. We give him a ring around the rosy as they know where this Dokkaebi is. Finds the player prone. Slam goes big with two in the end. It's looking like absolute mayhem on the attackers' comms. I can only imagine what the plan is, but Yardigans take a 3-0 lead, and it's not looking too bueno for Neptune. As the objective rotation parameter resets, we'll head back upstairs. Should be quite interesting on how that'll play out, knowing the amount of pressure that amounts when you fail a rush, and you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and innovate when you go round to round. Utility seems to be similar, and I love the Denari pick, and there's that Wamai Vec. I love that. Won't need the shield, as the Denari already brings it, and there's only 3 default spots you can bring it, and that's if you're being picky. Should be a quite interesting time on this players will actively throw. Intrigued to see how these players will treat this game. This is one way to set it up. If you guys want a quick pro quo, you can expand on these Denaris by putting them on that vending machine and expanding it all the way to this little corner, and it cannot be shot from the stairs or from the manager's door. And that way you cross off the door and the stairs alongside, and you use all 7 of those prisms. Sophia being brought as well, not a really big surprise, knowing her most recent buff has put her as arguably one of the most overpowered attackers, as she now has an extra concussive, an extra explosive. Hard breaches and a lower recoil AR presents to be an option better than Ashe currently. Just cannot penetrate mirrors. Is the one that she has over that, but no mirrors to worry about on this roster. And Slam is going to try to engage on Spiral, but Zofia is already a long ways away, looking for a different avenue to pursue to help their team establish some form of possession of the site. 3 players repelled onto one angle, and they've yet to break anything. And to make matters worse, Slam gets rid of Highway first and foremost. It's not looking too great right now for Neptune. Time continues to run down, and it doesn't seem like this game's being any nicer, as its continuous kills still in the favor of Yardigans, but finally Runs gets one back in store, but Nuka's one. He's found 2. He's on a quad and looking to close it out. There's one player circling, but it's glad to get the job done. Oh, it's absolute terror for these players. Not a single round has gone Neptune's way, and this could be over faster than the first game. In a tactical timeout, I have to give a round of applause to this. You rarely see tac timeouts on console, but hopefully it wasn't called too late. A 4-0 lead is a little dreadful to see. Sometimes a 4-2 split is very common on console, but it's very unlikely and uncommon that the rounds that are won are in succession back to each other. 4-0 is just not looking the best of situations, but if they can find these 2 ending rounds, they can look for a better campaign as they'll switch on to the defensive side. But absolutely nothing for Yardigans. You have 2 players combined for 14 and 2, and Neptune are having a hard time being able to break the map open. Similar cycle, as we'll go head on downstairs to the basement, see what these teams have in store for us today. I do really hope that these guys continue to lock in, because if they don't, this is going to be a very, very, very quick game. And that is not what we want to see, especially when everyone's here just to watch this team try to soar. $4-0 is the verdict, and 2 more rounds on the defensive campaign of Yardigans, which has seemingly been flawless up to this point. Let's see how they'll play it out. Looks like they won't even try to approach the main breach with multiple players. They'll have KJ do the same exact thing. No denial. The breach. Kite and Bandit have both been taken off the board, but mirrors will be the next bigger problem for Neptune to have to deal with. Breach getting opened up with little to no opposition. They are able to mitigate these circumstances to the best of their ability. KJ opening up the breach quite easily. Using both exit subjects. Actually not dying this time around is a sight to see. Looking for the pick here. Runs has been a very good entry despite being on 110 pick, assuming he is EU. Has been doing a great job at finding kills for his team. Highway jumps the gun, gives away his location, and Slam looks for 2, finds it. Guys, we have to stop him. He's 10 and 1. And we look like we're panicking every time we run into him. Entry and Monty both go down. 2 picks you never want to hear in succession. But here we are. 90 seconds remain, and Yardigans, they continue to make it from bad to worse onto Neptune. highway. There's really no way to go, as everything else has been shattering around you. The timeout looking a little redundant, and it's done absolutely nothing for this team. They continue to circle around like sharks. Highway goes down, and Slam gets the last 2 kills, breaking double digits with only 1 death. The flawless for Yardigans. And you can only imagine the joy in the call right now as they look to finish this game stronger than their last, trying to approach a 7-0. Wow, this is a one-sided affair. We're about to have 2 BO1s in under an hour and a half. That is a first for me. Hopefully something has been said, because right now it's just looking way too easy for this team. It's a little too easy for these guys to continue to find joy this often, this fast. It's causes for concern, especially this early on. Perfect half, just one more round before they can say so successfully that they've been able to defend Conslip. Not a single round dropped. All quiet on the western front while either side looks to attack each other's play out. Now a spawn peak is going to take care of a good majority of Runs' health. Hopefully the prolific entry player will be able to find joy this time, as you'll have to run into the most dangerous player in the server right now, sitting at an 11 KD. As it gets closer and closer, Runs will head on over to the roof to be with the rest of the attacking squad, while the attackers are looking for entryway. The defenders are setting themselves up in pivotal areas of the map that'll become a bigger issue as the round continues to tick down slowly. First engagement seems to be on yellow. Highway finally wins out one to give his team scale tip, something we haven't seen in a while. Slam goes down for the 2nd time this entire game. These players are starting to struggle, but Jack says no and gets one right back in blood. You isolate the buck, you say yes. Vec gets 1 and 2. Oh, the lead was so short-lived. Almost like a fantasy. A 2v3 as Neptune now lose the very, very short-lived advantage. 2v3. 75 seconds left on the board, and they need a miracle to pull this one off. Only joy you could think of is they still have the case in hand. But there's so many different problems that continue to arise. With a minute left, they're going to have to continue to approach it. Vec is sitting on a quad. Triple in that case, but KJ isolates it. Makes it possible, viable, trying to make it a possibility to give his team something to stop them from going on to a perfect defensive half. The wallbang almost connects with the player. Sought refuge behind the piano. Vec, where we see form, but he's already hit ground. Now KJ falls back off of yellow. Seems like trying to take the time off the players to consider what the idea here is. The gas pipe still goes against, so cannot walk and needs to reapproach the idea. Goes upstairs for the verticality, but none provided as of now. With the hatch wide open, you need to tread carefully. You're barely alive. You'll get rid of the first. But Vec is watching his hatch from an impossible angle. He'll shoot you off, and it's just too easy right now for Yardigans. They'll claim 6 uncontested rounds. And Neptune, you need a change in pace Otherwise, this game is just over. There's no way. There's no way we're going to see a total of less than 14 rounds across 2 games. I'm going to cry. I'm trying to take deep breaths because I'm just very, very concerned as to what we're seeing. But excited to see what the idea here is, and maybe they'll change things up. Maybe they'll shift up the playstyle to get the job done here, but there's a lot of different things going on. So maybe we just take everything into account, know that we are gifted to be able to see 10 silhouettes at once, the executes at play. Other than that, man, we need to take a deep breath because what in the world is going on? Could be their first and last round on the defense, and I sure hope for the stream that it isn't. But it's a very realistic possibility because the momentum has been snowballed by Yardigans, and it could translate onto their defense. So, see how this will play out. I didn't even realize. He's sitting at 8-2. I didn't even see him get 8 kills, but seems to be realistic as this entire team is just being slaughtered. I mean, it would have been hilarious if he got finished off by the lawnmower, but runs with a beautiful one-tap to get the job done. Can you find another in response? As currently he's the only player on his team that is evened out, and in this case, a little curious to see what the idea here is. 0-6. 3 and wow. I'm just curious as to see how they'll be able to mitigate the circumstances because they look like they want to navigate this map, but it just continues to go from bad to worse. 2 players go down, leaving Geekin at an arm's length away with these players circling like sharks. His player and operator identity have been located, so Dokkaebi can slap him with a call after she gets out the mute jammer. Getting rid of 1. But the attackers go back right out and defend out, get the player back up. Call comes in to Geekin, could decide to reset the phone, but won't even have the time to do that. 7 rounds, back to back, not a single one goes in the favor of Neptune. That might be the most one-sided game I've seen in my career of casting. Things need to be changed for Neptune. 12-2 within the server. It's wow. That is one of the games of all time. And Yardigans are starting to slowly become my favorite team. One-sided result, very coordinated, and they know how to inflict pain as fast as possible. A team that I wouldn't be surprised if they made a deep run in playoffs. But unfortunately, that stream lasted less than 2 hours, and I have been your caster, everything behind the desk. My name has been SiNO. If you have enjoyed, this is my channel, this is my project. So if you guys wouldn't mind leaving a follow, subscribing, or even letting me know what I can do better, that would be much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night. We'll be back soon enough with this league and others for Siege console competitive and sometime maybe even PC. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.